Hey guys, what's up? It's Matt here, and today I want to talk to you guys about Halloween after Halloween has passed. Yeah, so you'll know for next year. So, let me tell you guys a little bit of a backstory. A couple of years ago, the Lord told me that He wanted me to do videos like this on YouTube, telling people the stuff that He told me. So that was kind of my I guess, ministry in a sense. And it may seem crazy, and to some extent it does still seem crazy a little bit to me. And admittedly, I haven't been doing a good job to do these consistently, but every time I get a chance, I do try to put out one. And this one has really piqued my interest. So a couple days before Halloween, I went up on YouTube and I searched about the origins of Halloween, because for some reason I felt like I didn't have the whole story. You know, I always felt like I knew Halloween was bad, but I didn't know why, you know? And that disconnect in my knowledge made me feel like if I were to ever talk to someone about Halloween, I would be in a place of ignorance. And I didn't want to be in a place of ignorance in case the topic came up. So I went and I did a little bit of research, and I found out how Halloween got kind of adopted into Roman Catholicism. And since that was the kind of the formal body for Christianity, then it kind of came under that blanket of Christianity. And, you know, Halloween kind of became, through the Roman Catholic Church, weirdly enough, Christian thing. And at that point, I was truly worried, because when you trace back the origins of Halloween and, you know, how it came to be, let me give you guys a little bit of a summary. So Halloween was an ancient tradition celebrated by the Celtics called, I believe it was Samhain, if I'm pronouncing it properly. Basically, at that time, the Celtics believed that the veil between the living and the dead was at its weakest, or it was torn or something like that. So the dead and the spirits were free to roam the earth. So in this tradition, they usually, you know, had bonfires. They had, they dressed up as ghosts and stuff, so as to fool these ghosts into thinking that, you know, the living was dead, so that the ghosts wouldn't, you know, harm them or bring any problems to them. Now, I'm reading from history.com, and it says, in the 18th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all the saints. So all the saints that didn't necessarily have a day for themselves, Pope Gregory III decided, hey, we're going to have this day to honor all the saints. The evening before All Saints' Day, which is November the 1st, known as All Hallows' Eve, became Halloween. And Halloween kind of merged the traditions of Samhain and the ancient Celtics into like the Roman Catholic Church and stuff, and that's how it became intertwined. And now it has evolved from there, and, you know, to where it is now. But anyway, that's not the point of this message, you know. As it is now, we see it as something innocent. So when I went to the Lord, I asked Him, what about this? And He gave me a message in Amos, as I said before. And what's really important is to understand that this message in Amos really showed how God felt about certain traditions, how He felt about things that were done that were not of Him. So I'm going to read it to you guys, and I really recommend that you guys go and read it yourselves. And as usual, you know, I would ask something of God in a narrow-minded scope. You know, I asked God about Halloween, but God answered in a very general and a very broad way. Not because He wanted to be, you know, mystical, or he wanted to confuse or anything. His message is straight. But what I'm trying to say is it doesn't just cover Halloween. It covers all those traditions that are not necessarily from God. It covers all those things that we have adopted that aren't of God. You can't make something that's traditionally evil of God. You can't turn it around like that. So this is what God has to say about it in Amos 5. He says, "Come back to me and live. Don't worship at the pagan altars of Bethel. Don't go to the shrines of Gilgal or Beersheba. For the people of Gilgal will be dragged off into exile, and the people of Bethel will be reduced to nothing. Come back to the Lord and live. Otherwise, he will roar through Israel like a fire, devouring you completely. Your gods in Bethel will not be able to quench the flames. You twist justice, making it a bitter pill for the oppressed. You treat the righteous like dirt." And in 21 it says, "I hate all your show and pretense, the hypocrisy of your religious festivals and solemn assemblies. I will not accept your burnt offerings and grain offerings. I will not even notice all your choice peace offerings. Away with your noisy hymns of praise. I will not listen to the music of your harps. Instead, I want to see a mighty flood of justice, an endless river of righteous living." We get so caught up sometimes in our tradition. We get so caught up into not wanting to change our tradition and keeping our tradition alive. But I want to tell you something that may offend some people, and some people may accept it as it is. But some traditions aren't worth keeping if it is against the Lord. Not all traditions are good. Not all traditions are right. At the end of the day, the Lord set a standard for us, and he expects us to listen to his signs, to listen to his warnings, and to come back to him. So if you may be wondering as a Christian if you should celebrate Halloween because it seems so innocent and your kids love it and all of that, look at what God says. Look at what God says about these festivals, about these things and these holidays that we have cooked up and we have adopted into his church. Look at what God has to say about it. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And this word that he gave in Amos is very, very applicable to us now. And the mere fact that God gave me this message, specifically when I asked about Halloween, know that this now is his words to you. And I implore you to go read it, because it's so important, guys. It's so very important that we stop mixing up tradition and God. We should adopt God's tradition instead of our own. Even though we may like certain things, even though, it may seem innocent, our greatest enemy is the enemy that we underestimate. And we have underestimated this enemy quite a bit. We have underestimated Satan quite a bit. And let me give you a trick that Satan tries. If you're a believer, then you know this. He never comes with a temptation or sin that would trigger us, that would make us think, hey, I'm doing something wrong. He always tries to mask it as something good. He always tries to mask it as something innocent. And in doing that, he catches and fools a lot of us. So with that, guys, I'd like to close. I normally say I hope you enjoy, but this is not necessarily one of those happy-go-lucky messages. And but I hope you take it to heart and you listen to what God has to say. So with that, guys, until next time.